Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us for this World Council of Credit Unions virtual event, Navigating the Changing Landscape of Services Marketing with the Credit Union. My name is Greg Newman, Director of Communications for World Council. As credit unions continue to face increased competition and changing consumer preferences, it's more important than ever to have a solid services marketing strategy in place. With new technologies and communication channels constantly emerging, credit unions must adapt and evolve to stay relevant and attract new members. During this session, Damian Mascoll, Vice President of Barbados Workers Union Co-operative Credit Union Limited, will provide insights and strategies for credit unions to navigate the changing landscape of services marketing. If you have any questions that come into your mind as you listen to today's webinar, please feel free to use the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen and type them in there. Damian will answer them later in the hour as time allows. I also want to mention this presentation is being recorded. It's going to be available later today on the World Council YouTube channel. I'm now going to turn things over to Damian Mascoll. Damian.
Good morning, everyone. I'm just making sure my screen is up. Yes, Greg, can you confirm for me that my screen is being shared?
We see it. Yes, Damian.
Okay, fantastic. Well, again, good morning, everyone, and greetings from the island of Barbados. So excited, slightly nervous, as I see persons from all over the world are commenting in the chat. But we will get going. I'm very passionate about services marketing, very passionate about the credit union movement. And so it's indeed a pleasure for me to deliver this session this morning. So here's my introduction. As it relates to navigating the dynamic realm of services marketing within the credit union industries, as credit unions encounter evolving consumer preferences and technological advances, it's important that we craft effective strategies. Crafting effective strategies here becomes paramount. In this session, it's my aim to delve into the insightful strategies to guide the credit unions through these changes, ensuring that we remain competitive, member-focused, and adaptable. There we go. So I want to start with a definition of services marketing. And I should say that I am a lecturer as well. So I'm a marketing professional. I'm also a lecturer here in Barbados, and I lecture services marketing and marketing management. So it seems a little teachy, kind of sorry, but I think that's my safe space. So in terms of definition, this is the one we'll work with. It's from Kotler. Services marketing involves strategies and activities designed to promote and deliver intangible services to customers, focusing on creating positive customer experience and building lasting relationships. So in the credit union movement, what we offer is intangible at the end of the day. We can't take, our clients can't take home the credit union with them, but we can work towards making what we do more tangible for them. What does that mean? So for those of you who have a marketing background, you'll be familiar with the 4 Ps. Normally we discuss this in marketing of a product, right? Physical goods, product, price, promotion, and placement. But then how do we treat the services? As you said, a service is intangible. So then we look at people, process, and physical evidence to bring that tangibility. So the persons who work in our various credit unions, they're important. And how they interact with our members is important. Each person is responsible for carrying the vision to credit union. It doesn't matter if it's the guard that opens the door, or if it's a teller at the kiosk, or if it's someone from the call center. Our people are important. The process is how effective and efficient we are. And then physical evidence. Not only does that speak to the physical landscape in terms of maybe the brick and mortar of the credit union, but what do your websites look like? What do your online mobile apps look like? What do your MasterCards or your Visa cards look like? And we'll get into this a bit more throughout this morning's session. So I want to start by first looking at how we understand the evolving consumer landscape. Changes in consumer behavior and preferences in consumer behavior are constantly evolving. And this, of course, impacts on how credit unions engage with their members. So our credit union here in Barbados, we're celebrating 40 years. I always make the joke that the credit union and I are the same age. And so how the credit union engaged and interacted with its members when it first started in 1983 is a lot different to how we engage with our members now. So we're looking at digital interactions, online transactions, and personalized experiences. And you're hearing me speak a lot more about digital because that is where the world is, and that's where the world continues to evolve from. And obviously, at credit unions, we are member focused, but we also have to take the time to recognize what's happening in the environment and adapt our strategies to suit. Technology, the impact of technology on customer experience. So we know that technology has raised expectations for seamless, convenient, and tech-enabled services. And what are we talking about? AI-powered chatbots, for example, where members are able to go online and engage with the organization even after hours and get real life responses. Mobile banking apps. Credit unions are competing in a space with other financial entities who are online and who provide mobile banking. And therefore, credit unions also need to make sure that they are using the latest, where possible, banking applications. And then digital self-serve options. There's a move to get more of our members involved in, applying for loans online and having that facilitated online in real time up to a particular level. Members being able to transfer funds between their various member accounts, or to even transfer funds to persons at other financial institutions. And then there's the whole conversation around demographic shifts and what these implications are. For me, I like to call out the requirements between what the younger members are looking for and obviously balancing the needs and expectations of those long-standing members. So a younger member is going to be at a different stage of their financial journey, and how they want to access information and engage with the institution will be different from the way that a long-standing member may interact. So a long-standing member may prefer to come in to a brick and mortar location and interact with a customer service representative versus a younger member who may want to interact online and may not want to actually come into the banking hall to conduct business. Is always striking the right balance. We then have to look at building a solid services marketing strategy. And I'll just take you through these works here. So we have to define our target audience and their needs. Who are we supporting? The reality is that some credit unions are normally formed by a group of people with a particular purpose, and they evolved over time. If I think about the credit union that I so happily served in Barbados, when it started, and who our members were then, to where we are pivoting and where we're going to. And it's always important that you continue to look at the target audience and their particular needs, especially if you're going into a new era, going to change your strategy and target new segments of the market. Then you have to identify and understand the needs of these diverse member segments. The reality is, as I just said, you will have younger members at a different stage of their financial journey versus the older members. And then, as let's say, the younger members, where are they in college, or are they at the point now of their first job? Are they preparing to buy their first home, their first car, and how are you communicating to them? And then we look at customizing service and marketing messages accordingly. So you want to craft a strong brand identity. And so you have to have a message that speaks, and this is where it gets a little tricky. Sometimes you need to have a message that speaks to both your younger segment and your more mature membership. establish a unique brand that resonates with members. And the reality is that brands need to evolve over time. And the conversation will then have to be where we are now, where we started, where we are, and where we're going. And then what does our brand need to look like for the pending changes that we are planning to make? And then consistent messaging and branding across all channels. I can speak forever about integrated marketing communication, but how I'll sum it up this way: doesn't whichever channel you use to communicate, that channel should have consistent messaging. So when you are communicating on your social media platforms or on your traditional media spaces, you should have consistency in your messaging. How you tell that story is slightly different, but there should be an anchor communication across all of those platforms. As we continue to look at building a services marketing strategy, I want us to look at the importance of developing a comprehensive marketing plan. And I have to shout out our marketing manager in Barbados. She's been doing some fantastic work in looking at how we position a market at the credit union that I serve. Outside of developing your marketing plan, you also have to look at outlining your goals, tactics, budgets, and timelines. And this is all in the aim of finding creative ways in your marketing plan, your strategy, to bring tangibility to the services that you offer and allow yourself to stand out from other financial institutions. My recommendation is integrating both traditional and digital marketing. The reality is that our more mature members will be more familiar with the traditional forms of communication, while the younger members that we have are trying to attract, you would better be able to communicate with them using various digital media platforms. So be it Facebook, Instagram, Threads, TikTok, Snapchat, it all depends on your market and what are the relevant platforms that persons are using so that you get the best bang for your buck. Because outside of organic posting, obviously, you would have to have some type of paid digital media strategy as well to maximize the benefits in being on these various platforms. Then my position here is then to leverage data analytics to measure success. And so my cry to all credit unions, big or small, is to invest in a CRM, to a customer relationship management tool. Utilize and use from your CRM, you can utilize data to track the effectiveness of your marketing campaigns, as well as continue that personalized engagement with your membership. Then we want to look at measuring your ROI and adjusting strategies accordingly. I just definitely need to emphasize this. So I'm a marketer, but I have a lot of friends in finance. And so whenever I go to finance, they're always like, you're spending X amount. What is the return here? And I understand their position, and it's also up to the marketers to explain why sometimes you may not see the immediate return, but the importance of building the brand and the move towards making the brand more tangible. Here we go again as we relates to technology, embracing new technologies and channels. My position is a mobile first approach. Almost everyone has a mobile phone. I want to say like everyone has one, but that's not necessarily the case. But almost everyone has a mobile device and they're interacting with it. So if you think about how you use your phone, so outside of making phone calls, you are most likely looking at your various look at your bank accounts. You're probably booking your vacations online. You're probably booking air travel online using your mobile device. And so it's important that we use this particular technology not only to communicate, not only to let's just step back a bit, not only to obviously have your financial products on there where persons can get applied for loans or maybe look at their balances, what their ability to pay bills, as well as to get educational content as well, and various push notifications. So my approach here is recommending a mobile first. The mobile app becomes an extension of the organization. Responsive design and user-friendly mobile experience is obviously paramount. So it's one thing to say, hey, yes, we have a mobile app, but what is the functionality of that mobile app? How does it respond? Right? What's the user interface, user experience? Sorry, what's the user experience with this mobile app that you have? What is that like? Because again, that app is a representation of the organization. And would you feel comfortable working with organizations who provide you with a mobile app and it isn't working? So if you put yourself in the minds of the members, then you would always get it right going out, because reality is what we say mobile first, it must be of a particular quality so that it's user friendly and we design have a responsive design. And I have been talking about social media, the social media's role in member engagement, brand building and communication is integral to member engagement. The reality is our members are online. All the members may be on Facebook. I can remember my mother joined Facebook, and I was upset with my sisters for giving her access, because no, she's just all over the place and sharing stuff. Or your younger members being on TikTok and Snapchat and Threads and whatever is the latest social media trend. It may vary depending on your region that you're operating in, but for sure we know that there's some social media platforms that are relatively global, like Snapchat and Instagram and TikTok. So as we continue to embrace new technology, we look at utilizing AI and chatbots for personalized service. The reality is persons are demanding 24/7 connectivity and experiences. So you can be online at 2 o'clock and 3 o'clock in the morning and be on Google finding information. With ChatGPT now, you could be online working in real time, building out various products and promotions and so on with ChatGPT. So what I'm arguing for then is AI-driven chatbots, because reality is that people are looking for real-time human-like interaction. So through this, you can have improved member experience with 24/7 quick responses. I want to look here. So while we're talking about technology, I also want us to focus on the role of video in services marketing. So I had a brief chat with our marketing manager here in Barbados at my credit union. And one of the things that we've recognized is that video has been driving engagement. And again, remember what the aim here overall in this conversation with services marketing is that we are trying to bring tangibility to who we are as an organization. And so we found that the video content has been effective in conveying messages and engaging members, be it on our weekly TV program, or be it on our Instagram or LinkedIn or Facebook. Persons like to see themselves, information is more digestible sometimes when you see someone that you're familiar with. And so that is a recommendation that I would offer up, that you look at what type of video content you're creating in your digital spaces. Because the reality is you're in the digital space, but if you are not driving continuous content and engagement, then it's almost like if you're not there, because you will not grow any followers and you will not have the enhanced engagement, and therefore you're not going to be reaching your members or prospective members in a timely fashion. And I seem to be getting through faster than I thought I would. But I already want to start to close up by looking at the value in collaborating with partners and stakeholders. So you want to partner with community organizations and local businesses. We are member-driven organizations. So we will have members who are in working in small businesses or belong to community organizations, how do we leverage those relationships? As it relates to building strong community ties through partnerships and collaboration. Again, being out there, what other sectoral organizations doing? How can you support them? How can you support those? How can you communicate through those? And of course, engaging. And this is amongst ourselves as credit unions, engaging in joint initiatives and events to enhance the credit union's presence. And then, yeah, definitely doing better than I thought. I just want to wrap up with some key points. So throughout this presentation, I was really trying to look at the pivotal role of services marketing in the credit union industry and transforming the industry so that we understand that what we are offering is not only we don't have a physical product, but what we are offering is something that's intangible. But then how do we tangibilize that, make something that's intangible somewhat tangible as possible with various touch points? We've looked at people, process, and physical evidence. So the importance of people and people and how they interact with our members. Process in terms of how do we tighten our processes so that we have the right amount, to be able to have the correct SLAs so that every promised member they can get a loan in 24 hours. How do we have the process that does that? And then physical evidence. Physical evidence, as I would have said, doesn't only speak to the brick and mortar, but what do our websites look like? What do our apps look like? What even do our cards look like? How do we communicate who and what we are as an organization through those various touch points? As credit unions navigate changes, we have to remain adaptable, embrace digital transformation. I know sometimes when we speak about digital transformation, persons start to think about funds and resources, but ultimately, if we are here to serve our members, then we need to make the relevant investments to ensure that we are meeting their needs adequately. So here's my call to action. All of these insights, let's work together to implement strategies to discuss ways to foster member loyalty, drive growth, and solidify our credit union's position as the trusted financial partners. I know so many people around the world who speak about the benefits of credit unions. I have my boss is Irish, and he speaks about how his dad benefited so much from the credit union movement and the West Credit Union in Ireland. And I encourage you to continue to seek innovative solutions and stay engaged with industry trends, and together, and that's us as all members, we can elevate the credit union industry and empower it to thrive in this dynamic era. And that's my quick, well, quicker than I thought, presentation.
Damian, thanks. It was quick, but really informative. As someone who does communications and marketing, I think it's a needed topic that a lot of people have questions about and have difficulties sometimes conveying the message of why it's important to their executives. We have a couple questions for you already. Siobhan asks, can you give some examples of CRM software that credit unions can invest in? And are CRM software compatible? Are these systems compatible with the database software utilized by credit unions such as ShareTech, eMortel, and so forth?
Well, the one that comes to mind for me would be Salesforce. I remember speaking to our head of IT about some other options, and I'm happy to share those recommendations offline. You have my email address there because this is an ongoing conversation that we are having in terms of identifying the best CRM that will work with our existing software.
Another question, what are the top 3 best strategies, and I don't know if you have 3 off the top of your head, but based on your experience to recruit more Gen Z members to your credit union?
I am smiling. I mean, I have 3 off the top of my head, but I can give our personal experience here in Barbados. So a year ago, our board had created a subcommittee. A year ago, our board had created a subcommittee for youth and marketing, and I chaired that committee, and with the sole purpose of getting more younger persons to join the organization. So we actually created a youth arm of our credit union, but not only to members of the credit union, but persons who are not members as yet, but fall within the age group that would be Gen Z. And I spoke to them maybe 3 to 4 weeks ago, and I was so pleased at the turnout for persons who were interested in financial literacy. And we have said to them, Reality, this is your organization, and you can take it and you can run with it. So for me, what I found is that the creation of a subcommittee that focuses on youth, but allowing them to guide that organization, because how they see the world and what information they need is probably going to be different to how I see the world and what information I believe that they should have. And so therefore, I can use that as the perfect example of something that has been working for us here in Barbados.
Great answer. Brenda asks, what would you say to those leaders in the credit union movement? And I experience this myself. I think a lot of people do. What would you say to those leaders in the credit union movement who do not want to invest in marketing tools that would encourage the younger generation to join the movement?
I think for me, if the reality is that you do or die at this stage, and I think we've had the same conversation at my credit union. I'm sure I've heard it at other credit unions as well, because there's always that concern over, do we invest these funds and these resources? And ultimately, if we say to ourselves that we are a member-based organization and that for the organization to continue to grow, it needs members, then we have to make those types of investments. There's no way to grow the organizations or remain competitive without making those investments.
I do struggle with that. I think a lot of marketing people do because, marketing and communications, it's not something that directly brings in revenue, right? You can't point to something and say, this brought in this much revenue to the organization or to your credit union. How do you get around that aspect of it to show that, intangibly, I guess, that it actually can and is a lot of the time driving revenue?
Well, the reality is, you can't to some extent tangibly, because if you run a campaign, you can say, well, if I didn't run this campaign, we would not have met XYZ quota in loans. So if you sponsored, let's say, a mortgage fair, and the team goes out to a mortgage fair, and you provide them all the bells and whistles, the tent and the giveaways and whatever incentive for signing, and then you can quantify that value and say, this is a direct result of XYZ marketing investment. If you're looking at membership growth, the reality is, if you're not communicating to the public outside of word of mouth, you would recognize that no, persons are not joining. So you should see a spike in your membership ads if you're running a campaign driven at acquiring membership.
Damian, Babacar asks, what would you recommend to small growing credit unions trying to market their CUs? Obviously, I think what he's getting at there is maybe the budgets aren't there as they are for some other credit unions. So for small growing credit unions, how do they do this?
For me, my recommendation is get into the digital space. That is the fastest and the most effective way to communicate on micro budgets, and you can definitely track your ROI in the digital space. If you're a small credit union, you can look at using Hootsuite, for example, to manage your social media platforms, and there are a bunch of other social media management tools that you can find online. You can just Google a few of them. But I remember Hootsuite was one I used early in my my professional career when I worked for a smaller organization, and you use that to manage and your social media platforms and pay for your ads and get your name and your brand out there.
This is an interesting question from Mary. She thanks you for the nice presentation and then says, what's your opinion on employee-based credit unions? Do you think it's worth it to invest as intensively in the marketing or do it partially?
Well, for employee base, I think that the communication there is probably going to be more internal unless the strategy changes. Because I know for some credit unions that would have started as an employee base and then they move and then they expand to attract persons from outside that particular, let's use taxis, for example, if it was a taxis credit union, or it was XYZ Incorporated Credit Union. And then they recognize that I've only grown so far, and then I want to attract additional people, then obviously the tactic there changes. But if it's just focus on the employees and more internal comms, I gather will be the best bet there.
Good question. Another one from Siobhan here. You know, the impact of technology on consumer expectations is huge, but who drives the process, in your opinion? Is it marketing or is it the IT department? And is it something that has to be a full credit union management and staff culture change to drive it?
I think it's all of the above. Now, let me explain what I mean. The reality is IT does the back-end infrastructural work. You have to get the IT support. Marketing's job is to drive the awareness and the communication, and of course, to drive adaptability, i.e. get the members using the platform. And then ultimately, I think credit unions, there'll have to be a shift in terms of a behavioral shift, and that happens over time, because given like how many credit unions would have started, at least the one I'm in, a small organization, and it has grown over time to the point, you know, obviously that's times bigger than where it was before. And so the mentality and the types of management and the types of tools that the credit union needs would have evolved over time. So for me, it's everyone's approach, but I don't know that you can have IT, well, digital transformation without IT, and then of course without marketing. It has to be a hand-in-hand approach.
Damian, do you feel that this is a follow-up from Babakar, because I know you talked a lot about digital space for small growing credit unions. He says, taking into consideration that there may not be access to that modern technology, are there recommendations?
Access to that modern technology. If it is access to mobile, for example, because then if you, I don't know how I can speak with my market. So for me, traditional. So I was a marketer. If you're looking at traditional, radio always seems to have a wider reach, and is obviously more affordable than TV and press. So then I would say radio, well, not just radio ads. What I have found in my experience is that when you do interview like conversations about a product or organization, you get persons are more in tune, because it's not just a generic ad about XYZ Credit Union, this is what we offer. It is more of a conversation of what we offer and how you can get access, and people relate to that better. So if you have a small budget and a market that has one or two popular radio stations, if you can do some type of radio-like conversation, I find that you get a lot of reach. Whenever we've done them, in my other work hat, whenever I've done them in that space, we normally get a bunch of calls after the segment.
A question from Vaishnavi, who says, first of all, thank you for the great PowerPoint. They've been using Hootsuite for a while for their social media channels. Do you think they should also look into HubSpot?
I mean, if Hootsuite is working for you, well, my granny always said, if it isn't broken, don't fix it. So if that continues to work for you, I don't see that there's a need to necessarily change. But if you think that you need an enhancement, that you can look at it. But I wouldn't recommend a change unless there was some reason that you weren't satisfied with the current software that you were using.
A couple of people have kind of asked this question this different ways, but any insight you can share on the structure of a marketing department in a credit union, how it should be comprised or made up? I mean, obviously, in some there's one person, in some there's three, right? It's
yeah. I guess it all depends. Resources. It all depends on the size of the credit union. What I would say is that you shouldn't have a person. Again, depends on the size, but ideally you would have to at least have a person, a marketing manager, I would say, and then someone who looks at pure marketing, and then someone who looks at communications. Because sometimes we wrap, and you're a comms person, we wrap comms and marketing together, and they're two separate skill sets.
Thank you for saying that.
And so then you have your marketers trying to do things in the comms space, and your comms person trying to do things in the marketing space, when really and truly they complement each other. But where possible, you should try to separate them depending on your budget. So in my mind, 3 persons, but definitely not one, because marketing, people seeing is like marketing, people do not only produce events, and those events, there's lots of work that leads up to the output that you see as well. So to have one person in the marketing space can put a lot of pressure on that individual that can lead to burnout.
Nicole wants to make a point here, and again, this probably is for credit unions with a few more resources, but says that don't forget the data folks with the IT and the marketers. We data nerds love providing insights, which helps the smaller budgets spend in targeted, intentional ways. I suppose if you have that luxury of having data folks, that's
Yeah. I don't know that micro you has that sweet Jess yet, but analysts are important for sure, because the more information you can get, the more you can target and design products for the right type of member, and then you can design products based on what the market is asking for, so you can attract new members as well.
And there are external resources for that as well, right? I mean,
For sure.
Yep. Okay, that's all the questions we have, Damian. Is there anything else that you'd want to add before we sign off?
Not really. It has been a pleasure to deliver the session this morning. Happy with all of the questions that I receive. I enjoy teaching, so I think I enjoyed the part where my students started asking me 1,000,001 questions. So I definitely enjoyed that part of the segment, our Q&A this morning. Thank you guys so much for having me. And anyone who has additional questions for me, I would have shared my email address, and I'm on LinkedIn as Damian Mascoll. Always happy to have a conversation around marketing or the credit union movement.
Awesome. And just so folks, if you like this event, you want to see it again, or you want others to see it, it is going to be on our World Council YouTube channel later today. You can find that at youtube.com/WOCCU. That's youtube.com/WOCCU. Again, it will be available there later today. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Have a great day.
Thank you. Bye, guys.